Philadelphia. Now, what do you already know about the bell?
It's cracked.
Everybody knows the bell is cracked. And often folks say, well, why is the bell cracked? We don't know. Not exactly. Probably a flaw in the percent of the metals that were used to make it. When it was made, somewhere along the line, somebody didn't put enough of something in it. Because there are bells here in the city of Philadelphia made at the same time, the same size, that have continued to ring. They never broke, but this one did. But here's the deal, though. If this bell had not cracked, I wonder if it would have been as famous. We don't know, do we? It's hard to know. Here's the State House. Independence Hall. They started building that building in 1732. Same year George Washington was born. When they built the finest State House for colonial Pennsylvania at that time. Philadelphia was a growing city. It will eventually be the second largest English-speaking city in the world, second only to London. A lot of folks, very important city. Now, they wanted a bell by 1750-51. Remember 1751? That's 50 years after that law called the Charter of Privileges. All right, it's the 50th anniversary. They're finished with the belfry in the State House. They have to have a bell. But they can't make a bell here in America. That bell has to be made over in England. All right, it's part of the policy, mercantile. Now, here's what they're going to do. They can't make the bell here, but they can design it. So, the fine folks who are going to design the bell know why the colony of Pennsylvania was founded, religious liberty. And they also found out something else, y'all. They know it's the 50th anniversary of that Charter of Privileges, guaranteeing religious liberty. They find a verse in the Bible. All right, it's in the Old Testament. It says this. It starts out by saying, hallow, make holy, the 50th year. Lo and behold, it's the 50th anniversary of the Charter of Privileges. And they thought, wow. Keep reading that same verse. And it says, proclaim liberty. Here's our word. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land and to all the inhabitants thereof. And they said, wow. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land and to all the inhabitants. That's how the colony was founded. Let's have that put on the bell. They do. Well, the bell finally gets here after several months. The belfry's not even quite ready yet. They get to hear the historic profile. They hoist it up. What would be the first thing you'd want to do? Ring it. See what it sounds like. Ladies and gentlemen, on the very first testing of the bell, the very first movement of that clapper side of the bell, crack. The bell cracked. First testing. Now, they've got a problem, don't they? Have you ever heard the sound of a cracked bell? Guys, it is an ugly sound. They knew they couldn't use this bell. It was flat, fuzzy. Well, what are you going to do with it? They don't want to take the time or the money to send it all the way back to England. So they look around the city of Philadelphia and they found a couple of guys here. Their names are on the bell today. Pass and Stowe. John Pass and John Stowe. They have a small little foundry. They make pots and pans. They don't make bells. They go to them and say, hey, John and John, can y'all fix our bell? They said, sure, give it to us. They're going to break it apart. They add copper. They think the bell has cracked because it's too brittle. The copper will make it a little bit more malleable. Well, they add a little copper to it. They recast it, take some two castings. By 1753, they get the sound they like, E flat, for those of you musically inclined. The bell is put in the belfry, and for the next 93 years, the bell will ring. We don't know if it rang when they signed the Declaration. When they did the Constitution, it was. The bell did not ring on the hour. It called people to assembly, announced news. That's when that one would ring. Well, what made it famous then? Now remember, Philadelphia is really the center of Quakerism here in this country. And a lot of Quakers, remember, are very involved in abolition and women's rights. A lot of those groups are here in Philadelphia because of the Quakers. A New York abolitionist group sees the inscription on the bell. It said, proclaim liberty throughout all the land. And they said, whoa, not just little white rich boys, but everybody's included in that. They took the bell. Guys, they're the ones who made it famous. The abolitionists, right behind them, the women's rights movements. They're the ones who took the bell and iconic symbol. They made it a very special symbol of their struggle for equality and for liberty. Does that make sense? So they're the ones, right at the beginning of the 19th century, who made the bell famous. Now, ringing the bell sometime in the 1840s, guess what? Cracked again. That's that big crack you see on the front. But when you get close, guys, you'll see that where the metal was rubbing against each other, now they had drills. And they drilled out about a half-inch gap. The sound still went around the bell. Changed the pitch a little bit, but it was basically fixed. By that time, early 1840s, the bell had become a very major symbol. So they didn't want to do anything to hurt it. Well, they decided to ring it Washington's birthday, February 1846. About 2 hours they want to ring it. Around noon, after ringing it for a couple of hours, somebody said, doesn't sound right. They stopped ringing it and they looked. Guess what had happened? It had cracked again. Now when you get close to the bell, you're going to see that big repair. All right, everybody sees the big crack? That is a repair. You'll see the drill marks. Look closely. At the top of that big repair, zigzaggy all the way to the top of the bell, is another tiny little hairline crack. That's the crack that made them stop ringing the bell. It has not been rung one time since February the 23rd, 1846. His birthday is the 22nd. That year was the Sabbath. They want to ring the bells the next day. They don't want to disturb the Sabbath. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, that bell today, though, is still recognized, I think, as one of the most important symbols of man's continued struggle for equality and liberty. All 2,080 pounds of it is your bell. It's your bell, representing, once again, the liberty that you and I enjoy every day. Security, have your bag off your shoulders.